is not a subtle argument. The door there is devastation. The master.
So according to Roomie, love has to be devastating.
Listen, you don't step into love, my friend, you fall in, head over heels. You ever seen somebody fall head over heels in love? For real? Reed? It's ugly, bro. Toxic, septic. Come on, boss. Still got a few hours left. Make something happen. For somebody, someplace. Cookie? Day's not over yet, man. Give me some.
Hey, tell me something. How'd you and your wife get it so right?
It's easy. I married my best friend.
Thought I was your best friend.
Yeah, you're my man. That's my lady. Night.
Good night. We'll give your wife those cookies, huh?
Best for the best.
Yeah. Best for the best.
It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. But I'll be there for you. So there for you too.
So we've been in a series trying to explore the answers to why it is that people have fewer friendships. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that studies are showing that over the past 30 years, the average number of friends that people have dropped from 6 or more down to 2 or less. Sometimes even, at least for over 10% of the population, they would say 0 friends. And we've been talking about why is that. And so we explored some of the reasons why. Sometimes we just choose isolation. Sometimes we struggle with confrontation. Gossip plays a part, and then, of course, also at the same time that the number of friendships have gone down, the participation as a whole in America in church has gone down, and church consistently comes up as the number one place where people build, develop, and grow friends amongst everybody in America, which is kind of an interesting statistic when you think about it, that we don't consider ourselves a Christian nation much anymore, yet we still say the best place to go to find friends is church. Well, this morning, I want to look at marriage and the role marriage plays in friendship. And to begin, I want to flip over to the most interesting of places, and that's the book of Song of Songs. If you have read through the book of Song of Songs, it is a love poem, if you will, about marriage and the relationship of men and women. There's a whole other picture. There's a Jesus role there, but I don't have time to explain all of that. I'm just going to say for the base surface of it, it is a love story between a man and a woman. And the text is so explicit that in Jewish cultures in the ancient times, they would forbid young men to read the book until they were a little older, if you will. And so when you get into the book, there's all kinds of explicit language and whatnot, and as it builds up to this crescendo in chapter 5, she says something that's one of those lines you could just read right over with everything else that's going on in the book. But she says this, she says, "This is my beloved and my friend." And then it just continues on. So after all of this stuff about what a great-looking guy is, and how wonderful it is, and how wonderful, she's talking about her relationship with him and says, "This is my beloved and my friend." Now, what she's saying is profound, especially in a culture in which marriages were typically arranged for business status, social partnerships, etc. And here she's saying, I love him and he is my friend. It's not just a relationship of purpose, whether I have a friendship here. There's a friendship involved. I find that interesting because, as I mentioned before, truth is whether you begin at God's word or you begin some other source. Truth is truth. And the truth of God's word gets told again and again and again if you look at the studies on marriage. John Gottman, who's recognized as one of the preeminent psychologists and researchers on what makes a healthy marriage. You may have heard of him. He's the guy who did an extensive study on couples where he would bring them in and observe them, and with 90% accuracy, he could tell you which one of those couples was going to divorce over the next 5 to 10 years. And as things played out over the long haul of the study, he 90% right on his observations. And so people would ask him, so how is it that you're so good at figuring that out? What questions do you ask? What are the key indicators? And his response was this, that the primary factor for determining whether or not wives and husbands feel satisfied in the relationship is not issues of sex, romance, or passion. Rather, it is the quality of their friendship. The most important thing is that their spouse be their nearest and dearest friend. Now, what's interesting is that clip I just showed from the movie Valentine's Day. It depicts the sort of cognitive dissonance we have when it comes to marriage and dating. And what I mean by that is, as this older married guy is giving his young dating friend advice, he says to him, oh, I tell you what dating's all about. Dating is just about, I know it's a torturous event, and it's just, it's like, man, it's just like, you just got to take the jump off the cliff, man, and it's crazy, and it's chaotic, and yeah, it's gonna devastate you, but if it's not devastating, then is it really love anyway, man? You just got to be willing to take that jump and take the plunge, come what may, into the chaos that is the dating scene, because you only live once, and you got to do it. That's kind of his advice, right? And the guy's here like, well, wow, man, how did you survive such a chaotic event? And he's like, oh, I didn't do any of that. I just married my best friend. Huh? But that in a nutshell, every so often I can find a clip that just summarizes it so well. In a nutshell, pictures the difference we have between dating and marriage. And it's kind of odd because we kind of hope that dating will lead to marriage, but for some dumb reason, we don't approach dating in the same way that we would think about marriage or want marriage to be. Like if you kind of think about when we talk about dating, what is it we're looking for in dating? Well, in the technological age, it's the most superficial surface of ideals. I mean, we're looking for somebody who we think in some way, shape, or form will be the perfect combination of an emotional crutch and a sexual partner. And so we kind of put those two things together. That's what we're looking for, which is why you'll spend 1 to 3 seconds determining which way you're going to swipe on somebody's picture based on what? What their appearance looks like, how you size up their financial stability, perhaps maybe some superficial conversational wit that they're able to put out there in the opening banter that you might have. And then, of course, I think it all really comes down to, in the end, their ability to take a selfie at the right angle with the right lighting. I mean, that's pretty much all dating is nowadays. And you start off with that, and there's this assumption out there, well, I mean, surely everybody has good relational skills. Everybody is emotionally stable. Everybody has a good mental health. And all you've got to do is just find somebody who sort of checks off all the superficial boxes that you're going to be satisfied. Like, I want somebody I want to look at. I mean, I don't want somebody I don't want to look at. I want somebody I want to look at. Somebody who's going to provide kind of a stable income environment for me or a stable house life. The friendship could just come naturally. I mean, because it's easy to do friendship. Is it? Is friendship really all that easy? I think maybe one of the reasons why marriages struggle is because we're not looking for our best friend. We're looking for, like I said, some combination of emotional crutch and sexual compatibility. We're looking for a relationship it's kind of funny we use that word relationship, isn't it? It's what we do to ourselves so often. We will use a word that is a synonym in the thesaurus of the proper word, but we'll use a different word intentionally because it allows us to fool ourselves into thinking we're looking for the right thing when really we're not looking for that at all. What I mean by that is relationship, if you look in the thesaurus, is a synonym of friendship, and friendship is a synonym of relationship. And some we say, well, I'm looking for a relationship, or, oh, are you guys in a relationship? What's your relationship status? I saw you change your relationship status. You guys are in a relationship now? Yeah, we're in a relationship. We use the word relationship. And so we can fool ourselves into thinking that, oh, because I'm looking for somebody who will become a best friend for life. No, that's not what you're looking for at all. You're looking for a relationship. And you think about that word relationship and how vague and how broad you could use the word relationship, right? Some of you are in a relationship with Amazon, right? You have relationships with all kinds of people. You have relationships all across the spectrum, right? Amazon is kind of like that thoughtful husband, isn't it? Right? They surprise you with gifts, and you have no idea what's going to be in the box because you forgot when you ordered it. And you're like, oh, wow, what did Amazon bring me today? Honey, why aren't you this thoughtful? I digress, though. But we use that word relationship because it's a way that we can really be looking for somebody who we are really saying, I like the way they look, I like the way I feel when I'm with them, I like the way other people see me when I'm with them, I like the fact that I have somebody to go to things that require couples to be at. Because let's face it, the older you get, the more awkward it is to be alone. I've been single in my 20s and in my 30s and my 40s, and trust me, it gets more and more awkward the older you get. In your 20s, it doesn't really matter. By your 30s, it's a little kind of uncomfortable. By the time you hit 40, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, you're okay, well, yeah, you can come. You can come. It's kind of hard. I guess, we're going to play this. We'll figure things. I'll sit out, right? And you always feel awkward in those situations. And so you want to have a relationship sometimes just for that. And this relationship that you're looking for all these other things, then you're supposed to, there's this expectation or this belief that someday this is going to become a close friend. And I don't know if that's a given. I don't know if that's a guarantee. I don't know if it always happens that way. For instance, it's funny, a friend of mine who's a counselor, I asked him that question you always ask counselors: what is the key to a happy, lifelong marriage? Right? I mean, answer that one, you can sell some books. And he said, it's funny, it's real simple. It's just friendship. That's it. I mean, so many people come in and they think they have all kinds of problems. And they'll say, oh, we have a problem communicating. We need to get some techniques on how to work out our differences and sort of argument, how to come to a resolution on things we disagree on. We need to figure out some strategies to get our finances on the right page. He says, at the end of the day, if they were just friends, it would solve almost all their problems. I mean, how often do you have friends who say, well, we're best friends, but we just have these communication breakdowns? It just doesn't happen. I mean, the more you're friends, the more these things work out, because the natural part of friendship is there's the give and the take and the mutual affection, appreciation for one another, and there's the forgiveness that comes along with the friendship, and there's the accepting. That's just how they are. Sometimes they're grumpy. It's okay. They're a good friend. You have this grace that covers over a friendship that sometimes is so lacking in a marriage if you would just be friends. Which is why when you kind of put these things together, how many times have you found out that somebody you know is having an affair? Then, of course, you find out who they're having an affair with, and your first thought was, man, his wife's way hotter than she is. And you can't figure out how it happened. Well, as they often say, physical affairs typically begin with emotional affairs. And what is an emotional affair? Somebody who found a friendship outside their marriage relationship. That's how those things happen. That's how you go down that path. And maybe it's because you weren't ever really looking for a friendship when you were dating in the first place. You were just looking for the looks kind of thing. You were never looking for the friendship. And I think maybe we just need to rethink everything about how we do friendship. And if we are married, I think we need to reevaluate what it is that we're saying about our relationship. What it is we're doing with our relationship. Some of the sort of intellectual dilemmas to ponder as you work this out when you're thinking about friendship and marriage. Say you've got a guy who, when you're single, it's okay. You can have girls who are friends and guys who are friends. So single people have all kinds of friends. Some are girls, some are guys. So would it be okay for a guy, if his best friend is a girl, is it okay for her to be his best man at his wedding? Talk amongst yourselves. Well, think about it, though. The question comes up. Some of you are like, well, yeah, sure. I mean, why not? What's wrong with that? Talk amongst yourselves later. Okay, later, talk amongst yourselves. These are take-home discussion questions. But at the end of the day, it comes down to this. This was the kicker for me. I was wrestling with this. It comes down to the kicker for this. Is if she is your best friend, then who is the one you're marrying? Well, this is my best friend, and this is the one I want to have a marriage with. Is that not what you're kind of saying? Well, if she looked better, then I'd marry her, but what are you saying? Well, I just don't think of them in that way. Okay, but what is marriage? Is marriage not, this is my beloved, this is my friend? If you're really looking to be married to your friend, then why aren't you marrying somebody who's your best friend? Like, who are they? At best, they're your number two best friend. Don't worry, honey. You're number one in my heart, but you're number two in my friendship list. Oh, it just comes out odd. All that to say, when it comes to friendships, why is it that we lack close friends? Well, to begin with, it's because the primary relationship in our life, if you're married, is that marriage relationship. One of the reasons why we lack close friends is because we pursue marriage not looking for a best friend for life, but for something else. We're looking for a relationship. We're looking for something else other than a best friend for life. So because we have a misunderstanding of what marriage is, we end up getting married to somebody who's not our friend, and we're still back to where we were before, where we have no friends. Or sometimes we have no friends, and it turns out, yes, the spouse is a friend. They're a great friend, and that's where we move to the second issue, where marriage becomes a hindrance when it comes to friendships and relationships. The other issue is where you get married to somebody who is your best friend. The problem is they're your only friend. And when they're your only friend, you begin to expect or demand things out of them that they're just not capable of doing. To explain this, I want to first kind of backtrack over to, I got to kind of bring up a concept from a previous message, and then I'll come back to this. Years ago, I did a series called When Life Sucks Everything Out of You, about how we make idols out of things. When we fail to look to God to be our central source of meaning, purpose, happiness, and fulfillment, we'll fill it with something else. That's what an idol is. If you go back in the Old Testament, you see all this stuff about idol worship. Go to the Ten Commandments talking about idol worship. I have no other gods before me. It's all about putting something else in the supreme place that God should possess in your life. And so in that series, we talked about different things that we put in that position. And one of those, of course, was the marriage relationship. And Ernest Becker, who was a thoughtful author back in 1973, wrote a book called The Denial of Death, in which he writes this. He talks about how, as we've moved away from sort of God being a central part of our life, what happens? What fills that void of God? And he says, humanity still needed this feeling to be heroic, to know that life mattered in the scheme of things, like that sense of meaning, purpose, fulfillment. We still had a need for meaning, and outside of God, where do you get that? Where do you turn for a sense of meaning and fulfillment and happiness in life if you don't have God in your life? And he says, well, there was still this need to merge oneself with something higher, some self-absorbing meaning. And if humanity no longer had God, where were they to find it? One of the first ways that has occurred to humanity, of course, was the romantic solution. The self-glorification that was needed in the innermost nature could now be looked for in the love partner. The love partner becomes the divine ideal within, to which will fulfill one's life. And all spiritual and moral needs now become focused on that one individual. But the problem is no human relationship can bear the burden of the Godhead. After all, what is it that we want when we elevate the love partner to this position? We want to be rid of our faults, our feelings of nothingness, that void. We want to be justified, know that our existence has not been in vain. What we want, in summary, is redemption, nothing less. What happens here is when you don't have any friends and you look to your spouse to be your sole source of this, you look to them to be your functional savior, where they become your everything you're looking for, you're all expected out of them. And this, of course, creates some problems. If you read the book, His Needs, Her Needs, How to Affair-Proof Your Marriage, interesting book. Basically, the theory behind the book, this is another marriage counselor who's done a lot of counseling with couples who've had affairs, and he says, what I see is that when people turn to an affair, it's because they're not getting their needs met in marriage. And so as I look, there's 5 core needs that men have, 5 core needs that women have, and if you could just seek to meet your spouse's needs, it would affair-proof your marriage. That's sort of his premise, his idea. It's an interesting premise, and there's parts of it that are work, and I would sign on to parts of it, but it breaks down in a certain area. If you look at it, number one for a man, number one for a wife, have some similarities, but of course some nuances. Anybody want to guess what the number one thing a man looks for in a relationship? Yes, of course, that's what the number one thing a man looks for. We all know that. Number one thing a woman looks for, it's very similar, but very different. It's affection. She wants affection. She wants, that's why cards, flowers, I love yous, thoughtfulness, that's why that's so important. That's why she wants you to be as thoughtful as her Amazon wish list is. That's because affection, just to know you're thinking of me. And so number one for guys, number one for girls, fully understood. And yes, that the primary source for that being fulfilled outside of God is the marriage relationship, yes. However, number two becomes an issue. For men, the number two thing men are looking for is recreational companionship. If they like fishing, they want a girl who also likes fishing. Or at the very least, doesn't mind the smell of fish guts and can cut up the fish and help bait the hook for him. Something like that. Or can drive the boat. Or can back the boat down into the boat ramp for him. Something like that. That's what we're looking for, recreational companionship. What a woman's looking for, her number 2 on the list, is meaningful conversation. Now, if you marinate on those two things, how capable is a woman at being the ultimate ideal recreational companion for a man? How many guys have drugged their wife out to golf courses they didn't want to be on, tried to get them to learn sports they had no interest in, tried to get them to watch sports they have no interest in? Come on, honey, it'll be great. Let's go camping. I don't want to go camping. Oh, you'll love it. Right? And they drag you along time after time. And of course, then they get out there and the competitive juices start flowing and the guy's pegging his wife with a tennis ball at 80 miles an hour. She doesn't want to play anymore. You're a quitter. It's just... And how many guys struggle to be completely enthralled and interested to hear all the details of your day? Is it fair to say there's probably somebody else out there better equipped, better suited to meet your second greatest need? Is that a fair statement? That maybe your opposite sex spouse can't do that for you. Maybe if you had a recreational companion outside of your marriage, same sex, of course, guy, not talking about, you follow me, right? Not looking for affair opportunities. Maybe if you had a close male friend who loved to play video games with you or loved to go camping with you, you wouldn't put that burden on your wife. And maybe if you had some close friends that you could talk to, you wouldn't expect your husband to be able to sit there and be complete. What did Kathy do next? No way. Did Jenny find out? Oh my goodness. I can't wait till Bertha. I'm just going to tell you right now, I struggle after about 30 seconds. I will do it, but I have to be doing something else, okay? Like, that door you wanted fixed, can you tell me about your day while I'm working on the door? Or it's best if I had those conversations on the phone before you get home. That way you don't see what else I'm doing, but she still says she knows I'm doing something else because I'm not quite as attentive as I'm supposed to be. I'm as attentive as you are when I took you golfing, okay? Is it fair to say that your spouse can't be everything you need? Or as the proverb says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. There's certain things only another man can do for you. There's certain things only another woman can do for you, ladies. You can't get it all out of your spouse. When you're expecting your spouse to be everything for you, you will extract out of them things that the relationship cannot bear. There's a second piece of this as well. And I could not find the comedian. I think it was Roy Woods Jr. who had the comedy bit on this. I couldn't find it. It's a clip I wanted to use. I couldn't find it from years ago. And he talks about marriage. And he says, something people don't tell you about when you get married is when you get married, you have to be home. He says, my friends will say, hey, you want to go watch the game? I'll say, no, I got to be home. Well, why? I don't know. I just know I got to be home. And if I'm not home on time, I'll get a call. Why aren't you home? And I have to say I'm on my way. No matter what I'm doing, I'm on my way home. And then I'll get there and I'll ask my wife, why did I have to come home? And she would just say, because it's your home. And that's all I know. When I'm married, I got to be home. And that was one of the best descriptions of marriage before I ever got married. I remember hearing that about marriage, and every time I'm asked, when are you going to be home? That plays in the back of my mind. But I see this play out again and again and again. And what will happen is I'll be doing counseling with a couple, and they'll say, well, the problem with Ralph is he just doesn't have any friends that he can go talk to about this. Or, the problem with Cindy is she doesn't have any friends. But if you go back and examine their marriage, what happens? Every time they try to go do something with a friend, they're made to feel guilty because they're doing something outside of the house. Because you always have to be home when you're married. Another interesting observation from a great book called, it was by a divorce attorney. It says, if you're in my office, it's already too late. The things I've learned about marriage from divorce. And in there, he talks about how this odd things happens. When you're married, it's like the greatest sin is to leave your spouse alone with the kids. Doesn't matter what age the kids are. You want to go out with your friends and leave me at home with, how do you expect? I'm going to cook. I don't know how to make them food. Oh, what do you expect? I don't know what to do with them at night. You just leave me with the kids all the time. I never have any time to myself, and you just want to go off with your friends. He says that same couple will then get divorced, and they will argue and spend thousands of dollars arguing over who gets more nights alone with the kids. He says, I wonder in marriages, how many marriages would never come to my office if they had just said, Monday night, I'll take the kids. Tuesday night, you take the kids. You have a night to go with your friends. I'll have a night to go out with my friends. And it'll be great. Because in the divorce, I just want this quality time with the kids. I want to be able to play board games with them. And yet married couples so often never do those kind of things with their kids that the divorced couples now all of a sudden are craving and desiring and wanting to do with the kids. It's like, what if you just took one night and you did that? Would that have some benefit? Now, I know some of you are thinking to yourself, oh, yes. Guess where I'm going to be tomorrow night for Monday Night Football. All right, Pastor said. Okay. There's another issue that comes into play here, though, and this is sort of like my caveat disclaimer here. There's a priority issue here at work. And the question I'm going to ask on the front end is, what priority do friendships play in your life? What role should they play in your life? Now, keep in mind, this is not the same for everybody at every stage of life. At different stages of life, there are different priorities. At different stages of life, there are certain things that are more important. There are certain things that are less important. And these things shift over time. In other words, the priority of kids in your relationship is extremely high in the birth to 5-year-old range. And it diminishes over time how much time and effort is needed to being there with them, because my kids are teenagers. I'm lucky if I see them a few times a week, right? These things change over time. So where do friends come in? If you got God, you got your spouse, you got your kids, you got your job, you have your hobbies, you have your recreation and leisure time, entertainment, the things you want to watch. You've got the things that you need to do, the things, the fix-it projects, the mowing of the lawn, the fixing of the door, the tidying up of something, painting that room, the craft projects, whatever they might be. Where does friends come in on this one? What I see with a lot of guys, I don't know what the girl issue is because I'm not one, but you can talk amongst yourselves. I know what I see for guys, because they get a sense of their esteem and their sense of achievement and pride typically comes out of what they accomplish at work. What they will end up doing is they will end up working extra time or going the extra time at work, and then they realize they've unknowingly, unwittingly spent more time at work than they should have. So then whatever free time they do have, they feel guilty, and they need to make up for that with the home things. When the wife says, I need you home, she's right, because you should have been home, and you haven't been home, and you've been doing other things, and you've been working overtime and trying to get ahead and trying to get this next deal done. And so you've really been neglecting your wife, and you've been neglecting your kids, and so you really need to be there for them. So you can't possibly then say, hey, do you mind if I go play golf with the fellas on the weekend? Why? Because you've already extracted such a toll on them Monday through Friday, you can't possibly take any time away for friends any other time. And so what's happening is this whole thing, the things you say yes to unknowingly means you're by default saying no to other things. And so what ends up happening is, because you are working so much, the very little free time you do have is spent at the soccer fields with the kids on the weekends, and then at home with the wife when you have the leftover time there as well. And really there is no time left for friends, but it's not because of your wife, it's not because of your marriage. It's because of something else that took up that whole priority list, and that's typically often time spent at work or the extra time or the overtime. And so some things need to be questioned in here is where really do you slot friends in that list? What really is the priority of friendship? How valuable is it to have a friend in your life that you can turn to outside of your spouse? What priority, what value is that in your life? If you read through the Proverbs, it seems like it's pretty valuable. There's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. The friends are there for adversity, for the hard times. What role does friends play? I can tell you, in my life, one of the greatest assets to my marriage are the friends I have outside of my marriage. Because when I struggle in marriage, those are the ones who can be the outside ear, the outside voice, the outside eyes who can look at my life and says, no, what you were doing there is really dumb. I'm not going to listen to my wife tell me that. What does she know, right? But when my friend that I trust looks at me and says, you're being an idiot, you need to apologize. It doesn't matter. This is not right for you. I need that source. And if you don't have that, your marriage is going to suffer. And so it's important that your spouse have that. It's important that you have that. Another topic of discussion for you is to talk about what is our priority list and what role do friends play? You know, are we at a stage in life where we could each take a night to develop and invest in friendships? What are healthy things we could be doing with friends, or what are unhealthy things we can be doing with friends outside of the relationship? What are healthy activities or healthy friends, and what are unhealthy activities or unhealthy friends? I'm not saying just go out and get any old idiot as a friend. There are some guys who you hanging out with is not a good thing. And ladies, there are some ladies for you to go hang out with them is not a good thing. If you're a married mother of 3 young kids, hanging out with all your single girlfriends or going out to bars on a Tuesday night because it's ladies' night and the guys are hitting on them, it's probably not the best place for you. It's also not the place the guy should be either. So talk about what is a healthy environment for that. Side note, we do have a men's group that meets on Monday night and a women's group that meets on Tuesday night. A little helpless, shameless plug for that, but these are good places you can meet some good friends. Anyways, you need to ask and talk about where is it that would be a good place for us to develop friendships outside of our relationship? And what benefits could they offer each one of us in our relationship? What am I expecting out of you that I really should be looking to for a friend for? What am I giving to a friend that I really should be giving only to you? I mean, there are things that should be kept only in your marriage, but you tell all your friends about it, you never tell your spouse about it. Where is your spouse in this role as friend? And so as you think about it, what role is marriage playing in your friendship? Is it a help? Is it an aid? Is it an asset to your friendship? Or is it a hindrance to your friendship? Do you see your spouse as your best friend? Or are they not a friend at all and you just look outside of it? What could you do to build a friendship within your relationship with your spouse? That old adage of couples who play together stay together. What do you think the heart of that adage is? It's not, see, she's recreational companion. No, what it's saying is couples who enjoy being with other like friends last. What can you do to develop a friendship with the one you've already committed your life to? Some questions to ask and think about as we finish up this morning. Let's pray. Father, those words where the woman from Song of Songs would say, "This is my beloved and my friend." For many in this room, those are painful and hurtful words because it's not been our experience in our relationships or marriages to have a close friend. Father, may we come before you and confess our role in that. May we listen to what it is you would do to guide us to be better at that in the future as we move forward. Father, help us ask, what is it that you're leading us to do right now? Where is your Spirit moving us to apply this message and these truths into our life? Are we cultivating a friendship with our spouse? Are we expecting and demanding out of our spouse the things that only other friends could provide for us? What have we done with our priorities to set them in the right place, to not have them such that we're expecting our spouse to fill your role? Father, help us sort through these things, Lord, as you lead us to a better place. And in Jesus' name, amen.